All right, let's start her up. Hey everybody, Bama Cooley here. Welcome back to the channel. This morning, I'm with my friends at Town & Country. Got Mitchell Watts here. Mitchell, let them know what we have in store for them today.
We are going to take the thing for a drive and give you a full review on the car itself.
We're talking outside, inside, some of the specifications on it, and you'll be able to see exactly what it's like to be in this car, how it sounds, how it drives, and we'll lay it completely all out for you. So come on, let's have a good time.
Let's do it.
All right, let's crank her up. That does sound awesome.
One fun thing about the car is it always applies the parking brake for you, even if you don't. 100% of the time. Just takes a little bit of getting used to.
We're about to go over some of the outside and some of the inside so you can see exactly what makes this GT so special. Oh, and look at the key fob there. It actually has GT on it.
Yep.
I like that. All right, let's go over it. All right, Mitchell, first thing I notice when I look at this, especially from the front, is just the width. Like, it's really wide.
It really is. Yeah, so one of the things that I love about the car is it does feel really planted when you're taking curves and things like that. The downside is making it through normal garage doors will make sure you, it'll make you think twice before you actually go in and try and pull it out or pull it in. But a couple of fun facts, this one actually happens to be the Carbon Series. It's a 2021 Carbon Series. And what the Carbon Series means is that it actually gives you a lot of exposed real carbon fiber. A lot of the Ford GTs are, I say a lot, every one of them are made out of carbon fiber almost entirely. The body, the front bumper, the roof, the monocoque, all of it is. But what I love about the Carbon Series is that it shows it off. So if you see these racing stripes that you have right there, those are not actually racing stripes. That's actually an absence of paint. And so you have the car, when they get ready, they make the entire car out of carbon fiber. And then they say, okay, it's time to go paint it to the customer's desired specification. And what they do is they actually tape off these little racing stripes, and they paint everything the liquid gray that you have here. And then what they do is they peel the tape off, and then they clear coat over everything. Now the reason this one doesn't look like normal carbon fiber is because we put a satin paint protection film on top of everything. But it's just a fun little fact. These are not tape stripes, they're not painted stripes. It's the actual body of the vehicle.
It's the legit carbon fiber.
Yes.
And you can even see this all the way down to the splitter down here. It's carbon fiber as well. And also one of the things I was noticing is the headlights. Like, these are some really funky headlights. And they're awesome. I mean, you got GT right there. I mean, those are something else.
One thing you don't want to do is get a rock chip that actually explodes that thing, because those headlights, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but we looked at it. It's like $5,000 or $6,000 for each side. It's not cheap. And a big part of that is because of that logo that you have right there on the top, which says GT.
Yeah, that's, when I look at a car, I just look for stuff that stands out to me. Obviously, you've got the carbon fiber, you got the racer stripes, you got the width, the headlights. You see massive air induction down here at the bottom, up here at the top where you go in here, you have the actual fans themselves pushing air in. I mean, this thing is,
it's purpose built.
It's purpose built for driving.
Yes.
And that's it, just driving.
Yep. It's
got some amenities, which we'll cover in a little bit on the inside, but when you're sitting inside, everything is geared to driving. Look at that, lift and raise. So this thing can adjust. So if you're going over any bumps, you can raise it up so you don't scrape. Then you can lower it back down. That is amazing. And you can do that on the fly while you're driving. And as you can hear, the fans sucking in all that air to keep that engine cool.
Yeah, so the suspension actually goes up and down by 44 millimeters, which is even more than the current Mustang GTD that they're about to come out with. But yeah, you have to put it in park to get it into that super low mode so that we don't accidentally mess with it. But once you change that mode, you get it into that stance, there you go. Then when you are on the street, if you want to raise that front end so that we don't hit a curb, or really, I guess a better thing is like a speed bump. But yeah, you hit that button and you can make it over just about anything. You've actually got more clearance on this with the thing all the way up on the Ford GT compared to a normal Mustang GT.
And you wouldn't think that, especially just eyeballing it compared to a Mustang. And one of the things I noticed here too, speaking of, you got the carbon fiber accents, you got them right here, which it's not really accents, it is carbon fiber. But to me, it's the aerodynamics. So the wind's going to come through here, and y'all, I'm nerding out using my engineering knowledge. The wind's going to come through here, and you see this huge opening. The wind's going to go through here. Obviously, you got a vent here, and the wind's just going to pass through and suction out and create its own little downforce and wind tunnel area right here. So this car is designed for speed and performance in every meaning of the word, really. I mean, this is a pure driving vehicle. Here you got the spoiler that can raise up and down. Obviously in the track position, you want to keep it up.
So you mentioned airflow just a second ago, and I want to talk about something that's really neat. So you've got obviously your intercoolers right here, right?
Right.
Well, that air goes into the intercooler. It actually can go into the motor, but what happens to the exhaust from the intercooler? Have you thought about where that comes out? Because it's got to go somewhere, right?
Does it come out the top?
Come on, let me show you right here. The exhaust for the intercooler actually exits out the center of the brake light.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the first time I saw this a few weeks ago and I was doing a walk around with it, I didn't see that, but that is that. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. They've really engineered this to the hilt. Okay. So it is built into the brake light.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, so the actual induction for the engine itself comes in here, but like I said, the intercooler air from the exhaust from the intercooler's got to go somewhere, and that's where it comes out of, which I think is really cool.
That is cool. That, I would love to have been able to be in the wind tunnel when they had this going in, and putting in the smoke and seeing how the wind was flying over this.
That is exactly what this car was made for. A lot of people wonder, why did they go with a V6 when they could do a 5.4 V8, or they could do a 5.2 V8? They have so many V8 options available, right? Why did they do the V6? Well, the reason was two reasons, or what they say publicly, was aerodynamics and fuel efficiency. And I actually think it was more aerodynamics than anything, because once again, this car is designed to beat Le Mans, beat all those other. So aerodynamics is king. If aerodynamics happens, then you also have a little bit of fuel economy savings as well, and it can just make the car more faster. That sounded great.
More faster,
more better,
more better.
If you ain't first, you're last, right?
What had happened was.
But yeah, so I really believe that's the reason. And I also think that there's also a part of this where Ford wanted to prove that the EcoBoost technology, which is basically just an engine with turbochargers, can actually make decent power and win at Le Mans. And so I think it's also a marketing stunt as well.
Yeah. Well, efficiency is relative, because even though I have an EcoBoost in my Raptor, the 5.0 V8 gets better gas mileage than my EcoBoost in my Raptor, in a Lariat or a normal F-150. So it is what it is.
It all depends on how you drive it.
It depends on how you drive it, how big your tires are, how it's tuned, how it's geared. And now, of course, mine gets really low gas mileage right now, but it's neither here nor there.
Well, as you guys probably saw, I'm not sure if it made it to the video or not, but when we took this thing for a test drive, it has almost a full tank of gas, and it popped up and said low fuel, 50 miles until empty, with almost a full tank. And so in the race car world, that might be okay. But that's what that's for. It might not be okay if you're going to commute this thing, but trust me, you don't want to commute this. It's not big enough.
It's a legal race car. It's a street legal race car. At the end of the day, that's what you got here is, and like I was saying in the earlier video, this is one of the few American supercars, and that car that you can actually drive on the street that has won international races.
Yes.
And Ford is really good at that. They do it with the Raptors and the Bajas. They've done it with the Ranger Raptor and the midsize in the Baja, and they're going to do it with the GT.
Yep.
And now they're doing it with this. So, you know, Ford Performance, not only do they want to win races, but they want to be able to give people the opportunity to drive similar vehicles.
Absolutely.
So to put gas in the vehicle, you've got your gas cap, or actually there is no gas cap here, but it's the Easy Fuel capless filler system, right? But what happens is when you close that door and you lock the vehicle, Ford actually locks the fuel door as well. And so now that I don't have my key anywhere on me, it will not open. So you don't have to worry about parking this thing with the valet and someone messing and putting sugar in your who knows how expensive engine.
Right.
And so I really think that's cool because Ford doesn't do that on any other vehicle that I can think of. And so, yeah, props to Ford on that.
A quick mention about the exclusivity. Man, I said that right the first time. All right. Still kind of early. I haven't had all my coffee yet. What was the production number on this particular GT?
Great question. So our chassis number is M131. What does that mean? That means that we were the 131st, I think it was 131, but if that's the case, we're the 131st Ford GT made for 2021.
Okay.
And on average, they built somewhere roughly 250 of them a year.
Okay.
Which actually calculates from 2017 to 2022, they built 1,350 of them.
Okay, so it's not 1,300 a year, which I think originally I was kind of thinking it's really about 250 a year.
250 of them a year.
Okay.
Roughly.
Yeah.
But they built, you know, COVID was in the middle of that. So some months was none, some months was a lot more, but on average it was 250 of them a year. And they ended up making exactly 1,350 of them.
Everybody, let's take a look at this customized 3.5 EcoBoost.
Well, before we do that, I think we should talk about the massive trunk space that we have in this car. So you've got maybe room for a milk jug in there, maybe.
You got a sack full of crystals.
Yeah. It is very hard to make this show up on video how small this trunk space is. It is absolutely tiny.
Just for reference, I have probably average size hands. I don't have super big hands. And when I say you can get maybe a sack full of crystals in here, that's no joke.
Yeah, if you want to look at it this way, this is an iPhone. This is a normal iPhone 14 Pro Max is what this is. And so you can see how much, it's not much space.
Hey, this isn't a grocery getter.
Yeah, it's not. No, and that's the only cargo space in the entire vehicle. But what you're really here for is the engine. So I'll just kind of rattle off a few fun facts about this particular engine. Yes, it is a 3.5 V6. A lot of people think that, oh, it's just a V6. No, it's a lot more than that. This is a motor that is built by hand by Roush Yates engines. And so it is the same engine that actually ended up in a couple of prototype race cars before the Ford GT program ever came out. But you've got forged titanium internals, you've got a dry sump oil pump system, so that way you've always got oil, even no matter how hard of a corner that you're taking in the car. It is a V6, and it's got the same size as a Raptor V6, but everything else is completely different and completely built by hand.
Why are you going to pay $1.5 million for a Ford? You know, that's the right, wrong, or indifferent. You know, whether it's Chevy, Ford, Dodge, people are going to be like, well, why? And I'm like, this isn't a normal Ford.
That's right.
This is, you're buying a race car.
If it wasn't worth it, people wouldn't actually be paying these for it.
Yeah.
That amount of money for it. Because this car is hand built. Okay, so the engine is hand built by Roush Yates, but the rest of the car is hand built by Multimatic in Canada. This doesn't run down the Mustang assembly line. This doesn't run down the Ford Bronco assembly line. It's very limited in quantity. It's all hand-laid carbon fiber. It's ridiculous. It's not a Ford.
Yeah.
It is designed by Ford. It's engineered by Ford. It shows what Ford is capable of. But this is another level, if that makes sense.
Well, and to go back from my experience, I worked 2 years for a carbon fiber manufacturer. So I know about the pre-preg process. I know about the vacuum infusion process. I know about making panels for cars, or, you know, whether you want to do, or bats or filament winding and everything. And when you do panels like this for a car, it's not an automated process.
No.
There are technicians that have to lay the carbon fiber down. They have to hook up the tubes. They're pulling the resin through the system at certain pressures. They got to monitor it. Then you got to cure it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very labor intensive system. So you get all the benefits of the carbon fiber. You get the lightweight, you get the toughness, but the actual process itself is labor intensive.
And in addition to that, if you drop this wing down and you look at all of the gaps, all of the panels all the way through, you'll notice the weave matches all the way through.
Yeah.
So this panel's weave is the exact same as the next panel's weave, which is the exact same as the next panel's weave. The amount of labor that takes to make sure that it's perfect, and if it's not perfect, they go back and do it completely from scratch, that's ridiculous. Yeah. It's another level.
Yeah. Well, you know, people see, like with the Raptor, you know, you got the carbon fiber accents, right?
It's a little different.
No, well, it is, because you can use scrap carbon fiber for that.
Yep.
Because it's not a load-bearing anything. You don't need it for strength. It's just for looks. You can use scrap carbon fiber. It doesn't have to be perfect. The layups don't have to be perfect. It is what it is. Yep. But when you come to something like this, where you actually have carbon fiber that's actually going to be performing, you actually want it for the lightweight. You want it for the strength. You want everything to be perfect on it. You want the right layups. You know, if you're at a plus minus 45 on your ply angles, you got to make sure that that's consistent all the way out. And just look, this isn't a single piece, people. Like when I say they're making panels, like they're making a lot of panels, and they all have to be, the fiber orientation all has to be in the same direction.
So you can even see the marks that are paint protection film. So you can see right here, these are the marks that rocks have been thrown up from these tires onto the actual body of the vehicle. I'm not sure how well that's gonna come off on camera, but let me see if I can get a light in there that might help you see it. But you can actually see a lot of the different marks, and some of them might just be dirt. But yeah, basically what's happening is this tire is throwing the rocks up here, but it's also throwing the rocks up over here as well. And so the air actually comes from the dead center of the vehicle. They pipe it through this channel and then all the way out to the side of the vehicle. The downside to that is when you run over any kind of rocks or any kind of imperfections in the road, it takes it and throws those rocks into this area right in here.
And given that these are strict performance street tires, they're going to kick everything back.
Everything.
Yeah,
it's a super soft compound. When we first took delivery of the car, my business partners looked at it and they said, "Man, who in the world's been doing burnouts in our car?" I'm like, "No, you just don't understand performance tires. That's what they come like, because they're a sticky compound. It's designed for racing."
Yeah.
Like you say. Now, we will probably age these tires out before we will need, run out, because we're not going to be putting 10,000 miles on this car a year. I mean, it's not. But yeah, it is very important to make sure you keep the tires within spec, because that's where a lot of the previous generation Ford GTs ended up in the junkyard, is because they never changed the tires out over time. They started to dry rot, and when a tire starts to dry rot, there's no traction. Next thing you know,
you're spinning.
And so it's extremely important. My recommendation is every 5 years, whether it needs it or not, you need to put new tires on the car, because you don't want dry rot. That's just my opinion.
One of the comments I made earlier when you were getting in there, raising it and lower it, was how big the brakes are on this. But, I haven't measured that, but that's got to be, 17, 18 inches? 19 inches? It's got to be at least 17. I got 17-inch wheels on my truck, and those are the size of my rims.
That's right. Well, when we were at a Ford meeting and they debuted the Mustang GTD, they had mentioned that the CEO actually mentioned, he said, "Can you imagine having a Mustang with brake rotors near almost 20 inches big?" And I'm like, no. I can't imagine that. Like that's ridiculously big, because I don't know if the wheels coming with the vehicle are 20s or 22s or 21s, and there hasn't been any specs released on how big those brakes are, but it's going to be really interesting to see if it's anywhere close to that. That's ridiculous.
You're going to see a brake sitting behind the wheel that's going to be about the same size as the wheel. That's what you're going to end up seeing.
It's kind of crazy, that's for sure. It's beautiful. We've really enjoyed the car. A lot of people have enjoyed seeing it, because this is really the only place that you can guaranteed come and see one of these cars. You know, everywhere else you might can show up and find one at a car show, but it's hit or miss, right?
Right.
And so we love sharing this thing with the world. We love, you know, people see it. I mean, that's what it's for.
Well, I think you told me last time, right now, there's like really only 3 confirmed in Alabama right now.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty positive of that.
Yeah.
We sold one of them to one of the customers who, because of privacy laws, I can't say their name. And then there's another one towards the Tuscaloosa state, you know, and we didn't sell that one. I think Ford delivered that one directly, but this is the 3rd one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's just, you know, when we were driving this around, literally people, it was nuts. And I mentioned this in the video on the drive, but people were coming up next to us, honking their horns and just acting crazy seeing this thing. It's to actually be in something like this is I mean, I can't describe it. I've been in some fast vehicles, especially the past several months. Nothing like this.
It's more than just going fast.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just wanted to go fast, they'll get you a Tesla Model S Plaid.
Yeah.
But there's no soul to it. There's no heart to it. And I love that car. I'm not knocking the Tesla. I just know this car is not just fast. It's special.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no way to like monetize that, or not monetize it, but to quantify. It's just different. It's very special. It's very unique.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make a video about this car, was because, you know, when I first came down here and met y'all and saw it, I was like, holy hell. I mean, this thing is, you know, and I'm sure, you know, YouTube's big. People have probably put out videos of this, of a GT before, but I wanted to give kind of like all right, we're going to get in it and ride it. We're going to get in it inside and look how the inside looks. We're going to get in it and we're going to evaluate the outside and see what makes this thing special and what makes it tick.
Do you want to take a look at a few things on the inside?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump on the inside.
Okay. You're a lot more graceful than I am. That's the other part, is you have to make sure that you don't whack your head on the door when you're coming up.
It's like, I think I've mastered it now. I'm rolling in it better, and I'm able to get out better. I think I'm starting to master it now. That being said, I could do it tomorrow morning and, you know, pull a back, pull a hammy, and something like that. But no, it's not bad at all. All right, everybody, I'm still doing the draggy because it gives me the 2 screens so y'all can see exactly what's going on. Might get a little shaky because I am holding it. We are on the back roads of Tijuana.
Yep, just kind of experiencing what it feels like just to take curves in this thing, which we're not doing anything crazy because there's police all over in this area in Mexico. But it's just kind of neat to see how it rides, how it handles, and we've got some pretty decently fresh pavement here. So I don't know, just kind of what's your initial thoughts? Oh, did you hear all those rocks getting kicked up?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that you have to, if you get a Ford GT, they tell you do not drive it anywhere until you get full body paint protection film, because the car is made entirely out of carbon fiber, and it actually will throw rocks onto the body of the vehicle. And if you don't have paint protection film, it will absolutely annihilate the body and the paintwork.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. I was joking with, and this will probably be another video, but you really need a course to buy this car and drive it. And he said that actually, when it's delivered to you, a concierge will come out, if that's a former race car driver, and tell you how to drive this and things to be looking for.
Yeah, so Ford hired an independent concierge company to make sure that if you get allocated one of these cars, you are literally waited on hand and foot. And because we bought this car, we've actually become friends with quite a few of those people over there, and they're just great people. And from word on the street is the Mustang GTD will have a very similar concierge buying process as well. So really curious to see what that turns out to looking like. You know, I love how much they kept true to this particular vehicle compared to the race version.
13.
You know, I know that the GTD's got a front engine, but there's something that's really cool about having the engine just a few inches behind your head.
Yeah,
It's not a knock on the GTD, but the Ford GT. That's is something that I fell in love with years ago when I drove the 05 and 06 Ford GT. We had a couple of those that come in through the dealership.
Quarter mile.
And we kept a Heritage for quite a few years before we ended up selling it. But man, you fall in love having that engine right behind your head. It's just a visceral experience.
Well, I mean, to me, this is a true American supercar.
That's right.
You know, and there's not a lot of those. So let's be honest here.
That's exactly right. I am excited about the V8. The only thing that in the GTD, the only thing that can make that better is if that engine was behind your head. But once again, I think Ford understood what the total package should look like, and I think they hit the nail on that head.
All right, we're going to head back. We're heading back to the dealership, and we'll catch y'all here in a minute. All right, there you have it, folks. A full, in-depth review of the Ford GT. Not to toot our own horn here, but I will say, from what I've seen, this is probably the most in-depth review of a GT I've seen on YouTube. Not only did you get to see the outside, the inside, the engine, you actually got firsthand experience of what it's like to be inside, how it sounds, how fast it takes off. And hopefully some of the torquiness came through the camera and you could see actually us pushing back as Mitchell was hitting the gas. So it was a great time. I hope you enjoyed the review. Special shout out to Mitchell Watts here at Town & Country.
Thank you.
I will put the link to their website down there. They have TC Customs, which everybody knows about, where they can pretty much do anything to your Ford vehicle that you want to do. Like I said with Colton, your only limitation is your imagination with what they can do. And I'm going to be making many more videos with them. I think this is going to be a pretty good collaboration between the two of us.
Absolutely.
And Mitchell, you want to?
Yeah, just thank you for watching this video. Thank you for also subscribing to our YouTube channel, which is Town & Country TV. And no, this car is not for sale. We're not selling it, but we invite anybody that's in the area that wants to come look at it. Come on. We love sharing this thing with the world. So Mi Casa, Su Casa, come on down and take a look at it.
Come on down, take a look at it. Mitchell will crank it up for you and check out their inventory here. Huge inventory. They got the sleeper program, which I've already posted a video about. You can get in my video, I call it the best super truck bargain in the nation.
Yeah, 705 horsepower, 700 horsepower, F-150 for $44,990.
Yeah, well,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy and it's fun to drive. All right, everybody, remember, if you catch yourself on the back roads in Mexico and you're driving a fun car or truck, go ahead and have some fun with it and give it the business. Be sure to like and subscribe at the bottom and click on some of the videos next to me. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
Peace.